Hello and welcome to the cybersecurity training for staff and users. If you've been sent to this video, probably it's because you are not able to attend one of our in-person training sessions. Of course, with COVID going on, a lot is being done remotely anyways. But anyways, welcome to the video session. Love to see you in person, but here we are on the video, and that's as best as we can do. Alright, well, most of you probably know me already, but I am Tim West, the founder of Green Mountain IT Solutions here in Burlington, Vermont. My contact info is right here, tim@greenmtnit.com. That is a new domain name. You can still use the old name, which was greenmtnitsolutions.com, but that was a little long and clunky, so I've got this one as well. You can email either address, it goes to the same place, but greenmtnit.com. Well, without further ado, I'd like you to sit back and imagine this scenario. What if this was you? You come in to work one day, come into the office, and there's a message on your computer. Files have been encrypted. Please send $10,000 in Bitcoin to unlock them. What would you do in that situation? Well, this kind of thing really happens. This is what we call a ransomware attack, where it's a type of virus, and the controller of the virus wants you to make a ransom payment, oftentimes through Bitcoin, which is kind of a digital payment method that's not really traceable. And this happened in Vermont, one of the most publicized cases in this state, back in 2018, just a couple summers ago. A local retailer lost $2.3 million. That was in number one, lost data. They lost all of their files from their internal system, their internal software, because remember, with ransomware, even if you make the payment, if you're able to, maybe you can't afford it, but even if you do make the payment, sometimes you're not able to, they don't give you your files back anyway. There's no guarantee. Not to mention lost productivity. This place was closed for a few days at least, I'm sure. Now, this particular company, I'm not going to name any names, but you can find it. Just type in ransomware Vermont, and it'll come up, WCAX. You can read the story and find out who it was if you're morbidly curious. This attack almost certainly was perpetrated by email, where someone simply clicked and opened an attachment from an email that had the virus payload in it. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I know it 99% just based on my experience, because that's how these things spread. So this company did stay in business, but after this kind of major data loss, so you could lose all of your files or all of your company or organization's files in such an incident. After a major data loss, 43% of the affected businesses, they just closed the door. They kind of said, well, forget it, I'm out here. They closed. 51% closed within 2 years. Okay, those that tried to stick it out, half of them just couldn't make it. 6%, just 6% survived the incident. So this company I mentioned here in Vermont was in the lucky 6%, but I'm sure they still went through quite a time having lost all their data and having to start from scratch on their files and their software system. So what's the risk? Why does cybersecurity matter? Well, we just hinted at it, but let's lay it out on the line here. Okay, exposure of sensitive information. If you have information on your customers or people you do business with, or your associates, whoever, and you are storing their personal information, maybe if even their credit card information, if you're a retailer or wholesaler, when you expose someone gets into your stuff and is able to access that information, that's horrible, and it can also put you in some legal hot water. Number two, just losing your data or your files. That's obvious. I mean, imagine if your company or organization, you lost every single file on your computer, everything on your server, everything in your software. Financial loss. So lots of times they're able to grab your password or something like that and get into your bank account and rob you. Big one I've put in bold here, loss of reputation. Why is this in bold? In my personal opinion, this is the worst effect of a cyber attack because it's the hardest to get back. If we lose a bunch of money, if we lose a lot of files, that's awful, but if we're a good, company and we're resilient, we might be able to make it through and, we'll get through this. Much harder to get your reputation back after, well, if you go to such and such, if you go to, you know, this store, well, don't pay with the credit card because they had this big hack a couple years ago. Or, oh, I wouldn't go to such and such, an attorney's office. They had a big virus that destroyed all their files for all their cases a couple of years ago. Whatever it is. And publicity these days, we look at social media, I mean, traditional news coverage, word of mouth. That's the hardest thing to get back is your reputation. And of course, last but not least, just operations being interrupted. If you have to take a week off to rebuild everything, not to mention all the time rebuilding all your files, so on and so forth, that's a nightmare. So that's why we're doing this training. And why are we specifically training our users? Well, remember on that first slide with the ransomware attack, I said 99% this came through an email, someone clicking an email attachment. I don't know that for a fact. I just know it, okay? Because this is a real statistic, 100% true, from a study done at techradar.com. People are still the biggest security threat. 99% of cyber attacks require human interaction to execute. What does that mean, human interaction to execute? It means it's something someone at your place did. Sorry to say it. I'm not trying to be mean or point a finger at anyone, but this is just the reality where it's clicking on an email attachment, it's downloading something, trying to install a program, and you download the wrong thing. It's maybe even taking that phone call when they say, oh, hello, this is Microsoft. We need to get into your computer. We've all had that call or know someone who has. Um, so very rarely are you just going to come in and without you doing anything, someone has breached your system, stolen your data, spread a virus, whatever. Almost always, 99% of the time, someone slips up. So people are the biggest risk. I put it on 2 slides in a row in big colored letters because that's the takeaway from this presentation. And I'm not trying to point fingers. I'm not trying to absolve myself of responsibility because there are a number of things that need to be done to secure your systems on my side, but that's it. That's kind of the harsh fact is that I can set you up with a firewall, with antivirus software, with a nice strong password, blah, 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 blah. And if you get that email attachment, because things do slip through, you get that attachment, you click it, the antivirus says stop, and you say go away, antivirus, and you say yes, run this, run this. You know, that's what can happen in spite of all our efforts. And that's why, to cover my bases, that's why I am providing this training to all clients, because this is in my professional experience and what I've seen in the wild. It is people, the people sitting in the chair behind the computer who are spreading and allowing these attacks to occur. So it's up to you. That's why we're doing this training today. It is up to you. I feel like Uncle Sam, I gotta point at the, it's you, you know? Okay. So what kind of threats are we trying to prevent here? Well, there's really only a few basic attacks. None of these are super technical, especially in a small or medium business setting. A lot of these attackers and cyber criminals are looking for a low-hanging fruit to pick, so it's not really anything technically sophisticated. We've got phishing and social engineering attacks. Email attachments are a big one. And then, kind of in the second tier, not in bold, password attacks and your physical security. If you don't know what any of these are, don't worry, we're about to get right into what all these mean. Okay, phishing and social engineering. Well, what is phishing? Phishing, not talking about going out on Lake Champlain, which I love to do, but we're talking about someone phishing for your password. Phishing, they are always trying to trick you into entering your password on a fake site so they can steal it. That's phishing. We're going to talk more about it in a second here. Social engineering, that's kind of a cool term, but it just means using um, psychology, using non-technical methods, using social skills to trick people and perpetrate a cybercrime. So, we've all got that call, like I say, hi, this is Microsoft. We need to access your computer. There's been a problem on your computer. It's not really Microsoft calling, of course. It's a scammer. So they have no technical skill there. They're using social tactics. So phishing, as I say, is trying to trick you into entering your password on a fake site. They're going to pretend to be Microsoft, pretend to be Facebook, pretend to be your bank, whatever it is. And typically these things are coming in through email, and you'll often get a message saying, oh, reset your password for KeyBank now, or reset your password for Facebook, or your account has expired. This is a big red flag. Watch out for urgency. If they say your account's going to expire if you don't come here and play along with our scam within 1 week, your account will be deleted. If you don't reset your password today, your account will be closed. Your bank account, you'll lose your money, whatever. They're trying to create this sense of urgency to make you act quickly before you really take a chance to think about it. So always take a minute, slow down, but that's a huge sign. Typically, a legitimate notice of this type, which by the way are very few, are going to, they're not going to say, if you don't act within 1 week, your account will be deleted. They might say you have 3 months, something like that, okay? Here is an example of a phishing site pretending to be facebook.com. One thing we always need to do when we're entering our password into any site really is to check the URL. When we go into our internet browser, we open up the internet, whether we use Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, all these programs to access the internet, we need to look up at the top of the screen. All these browsers have an address bar where we can see, this should be facebook.com. Here we see face-book.net, so clearly a fake. Now, just so happens this is in Russian, or whatever language this is, so that's a clue as well, but they're always going to have the wrong URL. If you're not sure what's supposed to be in that box, just go right to Google, type in Facebook, or type in KeyBank or Citizens Bank, whatever, find the legitimate page, and then you can compare. Oh, citizensbank.com. Well, I see that this is sending me to citizensbank.net, so that must be fake, Another thing that you can do in a similar vein is hover your mouse over a link before you click it. So when we have a link in an email, for example, if I take my mouse and just don't click, just put it over the link and hover it there for a second, it's going to show up down the bottom left of the screen what the actual URL, that's the web address if you don't know, that's what URL means. What's the actual URL? So here, I'm hovering over Biometric Information Privacy Act, and we see that it points to the Wikipedia page on that law. Okay? This is something they'll use to trick you. They can definitely have a link that says facebook.com, but when you click it, it actually goes to face-book.net. So you need to hover your mouse over a link before you click it and see where it's actually going. Okay? Last thing on a phishing email, check the sender. If you're using Microsoft Outlook, which I know most of you out there are, clients of mine, if you double click on someone's name, so you get an email from me, you double click on Tim West, it's going to show you what's their email address, tim at greenmountainitsolutions.com. Okay? Make sure that's correct. Sometimes these people have kind of cased you so they know a little bit about you. If they knew you were expecting an email from Tim West, well, they might go out and create Tim greenmountainit at yahoo.com and set the name Tim West and send it to you. So if something looks suspicious with someone you correspond with, typically double click that name and see that it's the correct email address. Something I just alluded to, spear phishing is just a special type of phishing. They're specifically targeting you. Okay, if a normal phishing campaign is just trying to see if anyone out there, send it to 1,000,000 people, see if anyone falls for it. Spear phishing, they're specifically targeting you, and they're going to do everything they can to learn as much as possible about you and use that information to their advantage. So for example, let's say that they see, okay, well, here's our target, John Smith, who works for ABC Company. Wow, I go on his Facebook page or I go on his LinkedIn and I see, oh, he's talking an awful lot with, Jill Smith. Sorry, they have the same last name, I guess. Jill Williams. Bad with fake names. So John Smith is talking a lot with Jill Williams, who is, that must be a vendor of his. So I'm going to create a fake email address, jillwilliams at yahoo.com, and send an email to John and see if I can trick him. He's going to think it's from Jill, someone he knows. So that's the kind of thing. Spear phishing, they're using information that they find online to target you in particular. All right. Social engineering, we talked about this. That's when you use your people skills instead of your technical skills. They also combine with this kind of spear technique of casing. They're finding out as much as possible about you. They're going to go on Facebook. They're going to go on public records from the government. They're going to go to LinkedIn. They're going to go to all these places and find out as much as possible about you. Oh, and maybe it's not an email. Let's go back to our previous scenario, John Smith and Jill Williams. Well, maybe I'll make a phone call and, hi, this is Jill Williams. Hey, now maybe you know their voice, but they're tricky about it. Maybe they're going to call the receptionist who doesn't know her voice, for example. All these kind of things. They're trying to find out as much as possible about you. Let's talk about another one. This, I'm going to throw out my fireworks or my jazz hands, whatever, my big alarm about bogus emails and attachments. Email attachments are, I was about to say they're horrible. They're not horrible, they serve a purpose. Email attachments are very dangerous in many ways. Okay? I want all of you watching this here on out, when you get an attachment on an email, take a second, Be very cautious, think about it, check the sender, so on and so forth, because that is how so very many of these things are spreading. So here we have an example email, scam at fakebook.net. So there's that fake URL again. Oh, awesome picture. They want you to open it. And here's their attachment. Totally not ransomware.jpg. Well, that most likely is a malicious attachment. So be careful. If you are not expecting an attachment from someone, if it's someone you don't know, someone you haven't heard of, uh, you know, even if it is someone you know, I don't mean to say that if you do know them, that means it's totally okay, because sometimes even people you know, legitimate senders, their accounts are hacked and they're used to spread nastiness around. So knowing the sender is not a guarantee of safety, but especially if it's someone you don't know, or if it's someone you do know but they don't usually send attachments, or you weren't expecting them to send an attachment, you know, be very, very careful clicking and opening these attachments. See, that's another one. I've got 2 slides in a row. Bears repeating, worth repeating. Be extremely careful opening attachments. If you have here's some things I just said. Never open an attachment for someone you don't know. Even if you do know them, that doesn't mean it's safe. When in doubt, don't click. Go back to this slide here. Be extremely careful, and when in doubt, just don't click the attachment. It's just not worth it. If it's something looks a little fishy, you got to go with your gut, which is something I'll talk about a lot in a minute here. Go with your gut. If it looks a little fishy, just doesn't feel right, just doesn't seem right, then just don't open it. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to email you in a couple of days and say, hey, what the heck? Did you get that email I sent you with that document? And then you'll know probably it's legitimate. So they had to wait 2 days, versus getting a horrible ransomware attack spreading around your network. Well, I think that it's probably better to wait a couple days, okay? So when in doubt, don't click. Go with your gut. I mean, this is something that I am a believer in all across life. I'm not a superstitious person or a supernatural person or whatever you want to call it, but there's certainly been times where I've been walking around downtown or whatever, or I've been about to even been about to go somewhere, and I've just had a feeling and said, my gut is saying to me, this doesn't feel right, or this is not a good idea, or maybe I should get out of here. I always listen to my gut in that situation, because you'll never regret it. You might regret not listening to your gut for sure. So just go with your gut. I mean, your subconscious mind, and I'm not trying to get into anything spooky or supernatural or superstitious here, but your subconscious mind oftentimes knows things before your conscious mind. So if you just have a bad feeling about a link, an email, an attachment, just delete it. Don't open it, okay? Now, if you do, this is funny. This is supposed to be your your stomach or your gut here, the graphic I designed. If you do have something, a sample that you'd like to send to me, an email that's suspicious, now, typically, just to be clear, you're not going to get a virus or spread anything just by viewing what's inside an email. It's almost always when you open that attachment or click that link. So it's okay to open it and examine it. I mean, if you're feeling really bad about it, just delete it. But if you like, I've created this new mailbox here, security@greenmtnit.com. Forward any suspicious emails. It helps me. Maybe something's spreading around. I can send out a notice to everyone and let them know you're helping people out. You can also send it just to my normal email address, but this is the purpose-built mailbox, security@greenmtnit.com. Feel free to reach out to me. I don't mind. I'm not trying to give away the store, but I'm not going to charge you anything if you call me for 1 minute or you send me an email and say, hey, I'm forwarding this to you. I got this email and it's from someone I know, but it just doesn't look right. Please, I'm not going to charge you anything for that. It just takes a minute, and I'd a million times rather have you do that, a couple times a week or whatever it is. I mean, as often as you want. I'd rather get a couple of those a week than have someone call me after the fact and say, oh geez, I clicked this link or I opened this attachment and now I got a red message on my screen. Your files have been ransomed, and send stuff along if you want me to take a look. I'm happy to look. All right, we're kind of getting in. Excuse me. Sorry, I like to do these presentations in one shot. I don't really like editing videos, so that yawn will still be in the video, along with my my water glass here, my beer glass. I'm not really a big drinker, which is funny, but this is just the glass I happen to have. All right, so we're kind of getting into that second tier. So everything I just mentioned up to this point, that's the biggies. Phishing attacks, social engineering, email attachments, being cautious about email. That is going to account for, let's say, 90% of cyber attacks in small business setting. We're in that kind of second tier here of honorable mentions, but let's talk about password attacks. If you have a really easy password, then it can be guessed. Simple as that. We're not talking about someone sitting up late at night, all through the night, guessing passwords over and over. These days, they have a program or an automated tool that's going to try thousands of guesses per second, potentially. So if you have a really easy password, then it's easy to guess. What is an easy password? You know, my name, so Timothy123, Green Mountain IT 123, Giants number one, or Patriots number one. I guess I got to cover my bases so I don't upset anyone, but Patriots number one, Vermont 802. These are easy passwords. An automated password hacking program is going to guess those, and you wouldn't believe it. I mean, seconds in some cases, a minute if it's a little bit stronger password. Try not to reuse passwords. I know people are guilty of this. A lot of people do this. Don't reuse your passwords if you can avoid it, because what happens if one gets hacked? Guess what? Now people who find that leaked password for one site, they're going to be able to get into every site if you are using the same password everywhere. So, for example, Yahoo had a big hack. Yahoo.com had a big hack a few years ago. One of the biggest in history. Maybe the biggest. I don't know. It's horrible. It's changing all the time. A worse one comes out every year, it seems. In any event, so let's say I have timwest at yahoo.com, and my password is, Giants123. Well, that is hacked, and the password is exposed, Giants123. You better believe that all these hackers and cyber criminals are going to go out and they're going to go over to Citizens Bank, to KeyBank, to Capital One, to every bank they can think of and try, Tim at yahoo.com, Giants123. If I'm using the same password everywhere, they're going to get in. So try to avoid reusing your passwords, okay? Avoid passwords that are easy to guess. It's much better to use a random word. A couple random words actually is best. Don't use just a single word, because it only takes a few minutes for a computer to guess every word in the dictionary, truthfully. Here's a good password. Snowball Chief star 6584 @ symbol. That's great. Couple completely random words, numbers, symbols, capitals, it's got it all. And it's really not terribly long. Type that a few times, you probably will memorize it. You can use a password manager program, which is sort of out of the scope of this presentation, but just Google password manager. You can even write your passwords down in a little book. I'm not in love with that, but if you're careful about not losing the book, it's actually a fairly okay method. A lot of people in tech wouldn't admit that. It's not the best method, I'm not saying that, but it's not the worst. It's much better than using the same password for every site or using something that you yourself can guess, my company 123, whatever. So it's okay to have that little book. It's not great. I'd rather see you use a password manager program. You can search Google for Bitwarden, Bitwarden is a pretty good password manager. Just a program that's going to easily help you store all your passwords. So that's it on passwords. I'm not going to harp on that too long, but let's talk lastly. We're actually almost done here. Quick presentation. Let's talk lastly about physical security. Okay? Don't leave your devices out in the open, especially if you have smartphones or laptops, things like that. We're lucky we live in Vermont. It's a pretty safe place. But if you are at a coffee shop, of course, coffee shops are kind of closed these days, but you see what I'm saying. Don't leave your laptop lying around, your smartphone lying around. I mean, people can. It's incredible what they can do. They can, before you even know it, you get up to use the bathroom, they can install something on your phone or your laptop that's going to basically spy on it and collect all your passwords and data and so forth, and really without leaving a trace. So don't leave devices around. Goes double if these are company owned devices. Uh, Lock your computer when you are away from it. Now, this is something people are touchy about, and in my experience, frankly, people have been annoyed by this. By default, I'm going to set your computer, let's say, to lock after 5 minutes. Kind of drives people crazy. Uh, if you are in an office that's fairly secure, meaning people aren't walking in and out all the time, you know, you can lock your computer. I mean, if you get up to use the bathroom for a minute, okay, I'd rather see you lock it, but maybe you leave it open. But if you're going away to lunch for a half hour, an hour, please do lock it. Now, the computer will lock itself manually after a while unless you've set it not to, or you've asked me to set it not to in some cases. But you can always lock your computer manually by pressing the Windows key on the bottom left of your keyboard and the letter L for lollipop, Windows key L at the same time to lock your computer. If you uh, Sorry, I just remembered I should also say if you are in a retail environment, you're in an open office, you're in a place that has a lot of people coming in and out. Of course, with COVID, that's not happening so much these days, but you need to be twice as careful about locking your computer. You might say, oh, that's crazy. What do you think? The UPS guy or FedEx guy is going to come in and install something on my computer? Probably not, but it would be pretty easy for him too, and it has happened. So why take that chance? Lock that computer. If you lose a device with company or organization info on it, you need to let somebody know, whether it's management, and then they should get in touch with me. If you are using, not only if it's a dedicated company device, a work phone or something that the company owns, but also if you're simply using your work email on your phone, things like this. These days, both iPhone and Android, if they've been set up properly, you can wipe the phone remotely if you think it's lost forever, and I can help you take care of that, okay? You don't want somebody coming across a phone that has access to an email account that has in turn access to banking, or they can reset any of your passwords with that email, so on and so forth. This is something that surprises people. Never connect an unknown flash drive or portable hard drive. So easy to spread a virus using a flash drive or a portable hard drive. I think maybe if you saw in the news, I think just last year there was a case where I think it was a woman from China, a Chinese national, trying to get into the White House or Mar-a-Lago or whatever uh, with a USB drive. Oftentimes, they'll drop the flash drive in the parking lot or something, hoping someone's going to pick it up and plug it into their computer. That's going to install a virus. Um, there was a scam going where someone was sending out mail that pretended to be from Best Buy. Oh, Best Buy, great deals. Just plug this flash drive into your computer. Don't plug a flash drive or a USB drive into your computer. Truthfully, if you're in a super secure environment, I'd just as soon see you never use these, to be honest. But I understand that's not really realistic in some settings. These days you can email a file to yourself or use cloud storage or a million better options, but it happens. Sometimes it's convenient. But an unknown flash drive, I mean, one that's just been sitting around, uh, at the office, you find it in an old closet, even don't plug that in. I mean, it could have been from someone ages ago whose computer was infected and the drive is infected. If you find an old hard drive or an old flash drive or you're curious about it, you know, I can help you out. Next time I'm at your office, just pass it over to me and say, hey Tim, can you look at this and see if there's any files on it? Or, hey Tim, I don't care about the files on this, but can you just wipe it so I can use it again and I know it's safe? I can do that pretty quick. Last thing in physical security, don't leave passwords lying on a post-it note or anything like that on your desk. I see this a lot. A lot of people do it. I don't know what to say. It's not something, I mean, I'm not beating on people about this, I guess you could say. But if you can avoid doing that, I mean, please look into using a password manager program. Look into, even like I say, if you have your little black book of passwords that you hide away, that's still better than having the post-it note right there on your computer. Anyone who walks up is in instantly. Anyone who breaks into your office is in. If the UPS guy has malicious intent, he's in if you're away from the desk. Um, if you've got to put that post-it note in your wallet, that's all. That's not ideal, but it's still better. But just something to think about. I'm not really harsh on people about that because I think it kind of speaks for itself. It's really quite obvious, and it boggles my mind. Sorry, not to be mean, but I mean it's obvious the risk. So be safe. It's up to you. We're wrapping up here. Remember how we started. 99% of cyber attacks require human interaction. It's something a staff member or user has initiated by clicking on something, an attachment, a link, whatever it is. So be safe, be cautious out there. And more than any one step or any, if you don't remember every single particular of this video, well, number one, please do come back and, review it. The video will be on YouTube. Um, but I want you to get into the right mindset and just be thinking about this stuff. That's my number one goal above and beyond anything else with this presentation, just to get you in that place where when you get that email attachment, when you get that scam phone call, just to have you say, hey, wait a second, didn't Tim say something about this with that cybersecurity presentation? Or hey, I'm thinking about cybersecurity these days. I know what a big risk it is. I'm being really cautious with these attachments. Delete. Okay, and feel free to reach out to me. My contact information again is here. Tim at greenmtnit.com, greenmtnit.com, 802-489-6948. Give me a call. Feel free to reach out. This stuff is so important. It's the most important part of my job. It's frankly one of the most important of your job, even if you're not in IT, is to keep your company's network safe and protected and be vigilant about this stuff. So please, if you have a suspicious email you want to forward to me, If you have a quick question, you want to give me a call, please reach out. I'm happy to help. I would be delighted to get more inquiries about this stuff because I know that this kind of thing is happening out there plenty. Quickly, I just got to say this at the end of the presentation. Thank you so much to all of these wonderful sites and wonderful people who provide free resources in many cases to make a great presentation. The template from Slides Carnival, that was the Jailer template. Illustrations by Sergey Tikhonov. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Sergey. Photographs from Unsplash and Pixabay, and clip art from Clicker, OpenClipArt, Public Domain Vectors, among others. Thank you to all of them. All right, that concludes the presentation on cybersecurity, cybersecurity training for staff and end users. I am Tim West with Green Mountain IT Solutions. Thanks very much for watching and be safe out there. All right, bye-bye.